Hi there, my name is Christina Halstead, and this is a tutorial for Toon Boom Harmony Essentials. And this is basically a little bit of information about layers and naming. So what I got here is just a basic stick figure. And what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you what to do when it comes to creating layers, arranging them, what basically these symbols down here mean, and how to move the layers around. So right here we got my little stick dude, and I'm going to, so I'll delete this so I can show you how I did this. So basically here he is. We're in the drawing view. You can tell by this tab up here. You can also see him in the camera view. We're going to stick to the drawing view for the moment. So right here, this is your layer, this is your timeline. You can see your layers here. Essentials does all its layering right here in the timeline. So right here you have your on-off for the layers. Right now nothing happened because it's the only layer, so it's going to stay on. This is how you get your onion skinning to turn on. And that basically is, so if you have more than one drawing in this layer, you can see where those other drawings are in relation to the drawing you currently have active. And this is how you can lock and unlock your layer. And you can see that when it's locked, the name turns red. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer. And there's a couple ways you can do that. You can go to Insert, and in this case you're going to be adding a drawing. You can do that from this menu here. And this little dialog box will pop up. And basically it says you can either add and close, which is basically the equivalent of hitting OK after you name your layer, or you can do Add, and it'll add a layer and then set up for the next layer to be added without closing the dialog box. In this case, we're just going to go ahead and call, well, actually I'll add two layers. So in this case, we're going to do one, we're going to call this leg, and we're going to call that leg. We're going to call it leg R for leg right. And I'm going to hit add, and it's going to go, you can see down here that it added leg right. Now it still has leg right up here, so we're going to go ahead and call this foot right. We're going to go ahead and go add and close. So it closes the dialog box. Now you can see that the little stick guy is gone. He's still here, but because we're on a different layer, he's not showing up. And since he's my template for how where I'm going to draw this leg, we can go ahead and hit this little light bulb right here. It basically makes the light table. So by hitting that, we have a semi-transparent view of that little stick guy. If I go to his actual layer, you'll see that he actually does show up darker now, as his original color should be. So I'm going to go ahead and go to leg, and I'm going to zoom in, and you can see the leg right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thin this line out a little bit. This is the brush tool. I could use pencil tool, but in this case right now I'd much rather use brush tool because that's just how I want to draw this line out. So I'll go ahead, and I'm hitting undo, by the way. Undo is Control Z. Right now I have it mapped to my tablet pen, which is why it's happening so fast. You can also do undo up here. So let's go ahead and draw this. Another handy feature for drawing is holding down Control and Alt. Brings up this little round graphic right here. This is basically kind of a graphical representation of an old animation drawing table. And what you can do while holding that down, you can actually rotate your canvas. Super useful. Oops. Let's go back to leg here. And just so you know, reset for your rotation is Shift X. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to rotate this again, and I'm going to go like this. And right now I'm not too happy with the way that line is looking, so I'm going to go ahead and go into my select tool, which is the black arrow, and I'm going to take this, which is the pivot. You can see this little P. I'm going to move that up here, because that's where I want it to be pivoting from. So if I were to rotate it now, it would rotate from that point instead of the center point. So what I'm going to do is actually basically what I just did. I just moved that around to where I wanted it. Put it right here. And now I'm going to add one more line. There we go. And I'm going to use the cutter tool, which is can be found actually up here with this black arrow, the cutter tool. I'm going to use it to kind of lop off these little extra lines that I don't want. So now I have a curve. Alright, so I've got the part of the leg right now. We're going to go back in and we're going to draw the second part of the leg. It's a little wobbly. I'm going to increase the smoothing just a little bit. Also rotate. There. And there's my leg. So I've got that drawn the way I want it to. I can always actually edit it out just a little bit. Put that pivot point right there. Just going to skew that out so it's a little bit thicker on the top. There we go. Now I'm going to draw the foot. So by picking that, now both of these are grayed out. So you have to be careful so you know which one you're actually looking for as reference. Of course, I can always turn the leg layer off and on with these little eyeball graphics. There you go. And nothing turns on and off because there's nothing on the foot. So I'm going to go back to frame 1 and select my drawing tool. I'm going to go ahead and work on my foot. I'm going to try and line it up with that leg piece right there. And now to clean that up again. There we go. I'll actually go in and use a little bit of the eraser tool. Actually, it's huge. Just make that a little bit smaller. There we go. Put my eraser tool and smooth that up. Actually, I'm going to do that. There we go. Okay. I'll go ahead and give this character some toes. Now I'm going to go back in to the leg layer and erase some of this stuff because we don't need that actually. And I'm actually going to have the foot layer when I do go in for color, which I will show you how to do. I will actually have that foot layer above the leg layer, which is why it's okay that that black line will stay there on the leg layer. So I'm going to go ahead and put some color in. And as I've shown before, I can use the stroke tool to close up open areas. So we're going to go back to leg. I'm going to show stroke. And I can see all the little parts of my leg right here. I'm going to go ahead and close that off. And you see I've actually gone a little too far, so I'll go with my contour and push that back in there so it's covered up by the foot. And I'm going to go back up here. And just as a reminder, you can find the stroke tool in with all the paint bucket stuff. I'm going to go ahead and close that up. So now I have a closed shape, and now I'm going to pick a color for this character. Let's go ahead, since this is a dog character, I'm going to go ahead and I can rename it by double-clicking on the name. I can name it. I'm going to go ahead and call this color swatch Fur. Actually, I'll call it Fur 1. I'm going to double-click on that, and a little paint picker comes up. So I can go ahead and say, let's make them a little reddish. There we go. So when I go, I'm going to select paint from my drop down, or in this case, I also have a hotkey right here. And go ahead and hit that. So now I have a colored area. It's just that easy. And if I decide later on that I don't want that color, I can make him, fuchsia. But actually, I'm going to keep him that orangey red color. Now that that's done, I'm going to go back to my foot layer, go in, use that tool to close up this area inside, zoom out, go back to my paint, and fill it in. Now you can see that I've got a foot and a leg. I actually don't even have the stick eye, he's in there too. I'm going to turn that off. I'll go back to camera view now, and you can see in camera view that whatever layer is on, that's the one that's highlighted. As long as you're using something, a creation type tool, a pencil, a bucket, any of these tools that actually lay down color or line. Now if I go to, this is the transform tool here, I can see where the pivots are for these layers. For instance, so I have selected my drawing layer for my leg. This is its pivot. I can actually permanently change where that pivot is by going up here to this rotate tool, which will permanently put the pivot right about here, which is where the leg would join the pelvis. You can see that right there. And for the foot, I'll do the same thing. I'll select the foot down here, and I'll take its pivot, and I'll put it right here. So that way, with the transform tool, if I were to rotate this, it now rotates at the foot. Same thing for the leg. Now, as you can see, the foot there isn't connected. I'll go into that in my next tutorial, which is putting together your character.